Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Rotoballer Radio Waiver Wire Series. I'm your host, Anthony Aniano. Happy to be with you as we take a look at the Week 7 waiver wire at both the quarterback and tight end positions. Guys, don't forget, head over to rotoballer.com, sign up for any of the premium passes using the promo code ACES, save yourself a little bit of money, and subscribe right here to the Rotoballer Radio station on YouTube, or continue listening wherever you listen to the Rotoballer Radio podcasts. All right, so we have 6 teams on a bye in Week 6. No Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, okay? Or tight end Dawson Knox, right? We lose the Chargers, Justin Herbert. We lose Jared Cook at the tight end position. Dalton Schultz, Dak Prescott with Dallas. Trevor Lawrence, Dan Arnold with the Jaguars. Minnesota, Tyler Conklin and Kirk Cousins. And Pittsburgh, Freiermuth, maybe Ebron, and Ben Roethlisberger, all on a bye for Week 6. So a couple of quarterbacks to take a look at. Hey, Tua had a great game for Miami. Tagovailoa, 16% rostered on Yahoo. Good matchup against Atlanta in Week 7. He threw for 329 yards. They let him throw it. He threw it 47 times in that heartbreaking loss to the Jaguars, 33 of 47. Ran the ball 3 times for 22 yards. Just over 30 fantasy points for Tua. 16% rostered. Could be a stopgap for you for the 1 week. Okay, my number one, actually, Tua is my number 2 ad of the week. My number 1 at the quarterback position, though, is Carson Wentz of the Colts. Only threw the ball 11 times, 11 for 20. Jonathan Taylor goes for $140 and 2 TDs. But with those 20 attempts, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, 21 fantasy points. Tough matchup, though, on the road next week at San Francisco. But Carson Wentz is very quietly putting up a nice season for the Colts now, with 20 or more fantasy points 5 out of 6 games this season. Now, if you're looking for a potential matchup, this is the boom or bust game to me. Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears. Matchup is great against that Tampa Bay secondary. The question becomes, is Justin Fields good enough against that Tampa front 7? Okay, the running game, Khalil Herbert's not going to be able to do what he did against Tampa. You could check down against Tampa. You could throw the ball down the field. Okay, Justin Fields finished with 15 fantasy points in Week 6, 174 and a touchdown. Did run for 43 yards. Everybody loves that quarterback who can pick you up some points on the ground. Justin Fields potentially can do that. And finally, my 4th and final quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. Got to mention it. Okay, threw for 334. A lot of it in garbage time. Okay, 3 touchdowns, but he did throw 3 interceptions. But he did finish just under 30 fantasy points. 20% rostered is Bridgewater. Now, Week 7, not so great. It's against Cleveland. That defense is pretty good, or has been, especially at home, and Denver going to Cleveland. But if you're looking ahead and your quarterback is on a bye Week 8, Teddy Bridgewater has a nice matchup against the Washington football team and their secondary. So that's something to be mindful of. Teddy Bridgewater now with 20 or more fantasy points in 4 out of 6 games. If I rank them, it's Wentz 1, it's Tua 2, Fields 3, and then Teddy Bridgewater 4. Now, as far as the tight end position, Ricky Seals-Jones is the number 1 tight end to add with that Washington football team as long as Logan Thomas is out. Ricky Seals-Jones over his last 2 games, 15 targets, 9 receptions. This past week, 6 targets, 4 for 58, and a touchdown. 15.8 fantasy points on the road against Green Bay next week. 29% rostered. Number 2, the boom or bust play is Mo Alley Cox of the Indianapolis Colts against San Francisco. Another touchdown. Problem was, it was his only reception. 3 TDs in his last 3 games. I threw him in some flea flicker leagues I'm in at the last minute over Conklin of Minnesota, and it paid off with that touchdown. Keep an eye on Cole Kmet of the Chicago Bears. Targeted 5 times by Chicago, 4 for 49, 8.9 fantasy points. And again, an opportunity to beat up on that Tampa secondary a little bit. Game script will say that Chicago will be trailing. Cole Kmet could give you some garbage time points. And finally, back to that game. If Rob Gronkowski remains out, or if Rob Gronkowski's on your team, you got to pay attention at this point to O.J. Howard, who had his first big game of the season on Thursday night. 6 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown on 7 targets. Don't expect it to last. Gronk will be back. He was close last week. Monitor the situation. If you've been streaming tight ends and unhappy about it, you can bring in O.J. Howard, and then when Gronk is ready, put him in your lineup. So it's at the tight end, it's Ricky Seals-Jones, Cole Kmet, actually Mo Alley Cox, then Cole Kmet, and then O.J. Howard. All right, everybody. Give me a follow on Twitter at Aniano Fantasy. And make sure, like I said, you check out all the great content over at rotoballer.com, its YouTube channel, or wherever you listen to the Rotoballer Radio podcasts. All right? Stay smart. Stay safe. We'll see you next time, folks. Have a good one.